This is my toy frenzy. Come frenzy with me.
Hi everybody! Today we're going to be making our own toy. We're going to be making a little dolly, a cloth doll, for my daughter. She twists and pulls her hair, and it causes her hair to be pulled out. So I'm going to make a doll for her with different kinds of yarns and threads. Got 4 different ones. And this one they got into already. But 4 different kinds of yarns and threads for hair. So hopefully she will play with the doll and the doll's hair instead of her own. I took her to the fabric store and let her pick out her own thread. This one's kind of silky. I actually really like the feel of this one. I let her pick out her own thread and yarns. And of course they're all pink. But she also likes the feel of all of these. They're real soft threads and yarns. So these will be our doll's hair. And if you don't want the doll to have different color hair, you can pick just one kind of yarn or thread and only do one kind for the whole head. I've already got my dress and my doll cut out, just out of scrap material that I already had. In fact, I already had all of this stuff except for the batting. I had to go get more batting. I didn't have enough. And the thread and yarn for the doll's hair that I let my daughter pick out. Other than that, I had all of this stuff in just my sewing craft room. So this is going to be a real cheap, do-it-yourself baby doll. Alright, let's get started. I'm going to start by decorating the dress, because I'm going to sew the dress into the doll. The dress seams, I'm going to sew part of them into the doll, so I'm going to decorate it first because I think it will be easier if it is all done the way I want it before I start sewing. I've never made a doll like this, so we will see how it turns out. So I have my sergers set up to do a napkin finish rolled edge. And I'm going to serge the bottom of the dress, the sleeves, the bottom of the sleeves, and the neckline. So, see how this goes. Let's see. I'm gonna get that under the knife. I'm gonna cut off just a little hair so it has a good cut edge in there too. Alright, that'll be a good little edge for on the doll's dress. And much easier than trying to fold and bend those. Okay, I'm going to fold this back because I don't want to cut into the dress. Just want to get the sleeve on this. Get that knife into the up position. Don't want to cut off as much of the sleeve. Have their edges serged or hemmed. Don't know how straight I got that bottom, but that is okay. And let's do the other side. Alright, so now we have both sides of the dress hemmed, which means we are done with the serger. this is a fairly new sewing machine to me. I haven't used it that much. So I've got a little bit of learning to do with it. So we want our stitch width at 0. And we want our length as long as it can get. I want ribbon that's gathered at the bottom of the dress. So I'm going to do it twice as long as the length of the bottom of the dress. And I need one for the front and the back. So I'm going to do 2 of those. Nose is all stuffy, sorry guys. I'm having allergy issues. Alright, so, alright, I'm going to line this up so the needle's right in the middle of the thread. Make sure you have plenty of thread to help back behind it. Okay, here we go. Alright, so I cut a plenty long piece of thread. Okay, now I'm gonna tie a knot. This end, and you do that by pulling both ends of the thread, both sides of the thread, both the front and the back. Oh, that didn't work. Okay. Usually tie the knots when I don't want to. I can never get them to tie when I want them to. Well, we're gonna start pulling this side. I guess. There we go. I was pulling them the wrong way. That's why it didn't work the first time I tried tying that. You gotta pull them this way. Not against each other. There. Now that knot is tied on that end. So I won't lose our gathering out the back side. I have the ruffle all pinned down. Now I'm going to sew straight down the middle of it again. But this time on only a 2.5 length. I don't know if it's centimeters or what. I have to find that out. see how this turns out. I like it. I think that's a super cute ruffle. Alright, that turned out good. So, let's do the other side. Alright, I have a ruffle on both bottoms of the dress. And I'm going to sew bottoms together. I'm only going to sew part way because the rest of it I'm going to sew into the seams of the doll, and the dress just isn't going to be removable. It's going to be part of the doll. You can make the dress separate and put in like a little Velcro or a button, cut a slit in there if you want to make it removable, but I don't want it to be removable. I'm just going to sew it right into the dress. So, gonna pin it up top, make sure I've got my top all even before I sew up the bottom part of the dress. Alright, now this is what I was afraid of. The serged part didn't line up right. And I need to reserge the bottom. Alright, now this part's a little trickier to serge. So we're going in a circle. It's gotta be flat all the way through here. Alright, so now it looks a lot better. The seams much nicer. Oh, I sewed down the ruffle a little bit in a couple spots, it looks like. And just that one spot. That will be okay. We'll put it in the back of the doll. I'm gonna cut some ribbon to put at the waist of the dress. I want a little strip of ribbon right there, and then I'm going to put a little fancy bow with a button on top of it. I'm going to put this on the dress now so that the seams can be sewn in. The seams of both, yeah, the seams of the edge of the ribbon can be sewn into the seams. Don't have to worry about it coming off or anything. Pin that down. Alright, so I have the ribbon pinned on the inside of the dress where I want it around the waist for a cute little accent, hopefully. And now I'm going to take the actual doll and I'm going to pin the dress on the inside of the doll. Alright, so I have the pencil markings where I drew out my doll outline when I cut it. So I'm gonna make sure that that's on the inside, because we don't want to see that. Probably wash off, but okay, I'll make sure that the neck and the sleeves are all lined up. Good. And then I'm going to fold over and pin the bottom part of the dress that I don't want to be in the seam, the part that I want to be more free. So I'm going to pin it right down here. Oh, and you know what? I'm gonna have to pin it in more than just that one place because it will be sewn into the leg crotches. So let's fold over both sides. Try to get them about in the same area. About there. And we're gonna fold it up. I'll go ahead and pin this so I don't lose it. Ouch. Poke myself. I'm not very good at pinning. I poke myself a lot. Okay, if I do that, I'm gonna mess it up. So, for right now, that's as much as I am going to pin it. Oh, and I'm worried that will get in that seam. Alright, is this going to do good? Alright, so I'm going to pin it right here. I'm not going to pin the doll in it. So when it comes time to sew in the middle of the legs, I'm going to have to move this even further up. But we will worry about that when we get to that point. We'll sew the top part first. Alright, and now we're going to pin top of the doll on to it as well. Alright, so I have my doll all pinned up. Now I need to decide where I want to leave the gap for putting the stuffing in. And I think it would be easiest if it was in the head. And then I would be able to cover up the sewing with yarn, so it might not be too noticeable either. So I think that's what I'm gonna do, is I'm gonna leave a gap in the top of the head for putting the stuffing in. However, since it's going to be tricky to sew down here and I'm going to have to move stuff around, I'm going to start sewing on the legs and work my way up and then skip a spot and leave my gap and then work my way back down so that I can fix the leg area last. So that is the plan. Let's start sewing. Alright, I don't want too big of a seam, so I don't want it bulky on the inside. And if I do too big of a seam, then it's going to make the doll awfully skinny. So we're not going to do too big of a seam, just a small one. So we're going to follow. And I found a spot on my machine that I'm going to follow for the seam. Let's see. So here we go, and I have it at a 2.5 stitch length. A little bit smaller. And we're going to start kind of at a slower pace. I'm not good with fast, especially when there's curves. Alright, I just realized because of the way I have this folded, it's going to make a major kink in the material. So, I'm going to try straighten this out a little to where it's not gonna be funny when we unfold it. Straighten that out, have it sewn in. Alright. So what happens when you don't have instructions? You just kind of go by how it's going at the moment. Change things up every now and then. Alright, now I'm going to take this bottom part of the dress and just shove it all the way up inside the body, so that I can sew, get it in there a little bit further. Don't want it caught in any of the seams down here. Okay, so now I can sew all the way up and down the legs without the dress getting caught in the seam. Alright, now we've got it all the way sewn. We're going to flip it inside out. There's a gap here at the top. See how well this goes. We're not flipping it inside out, we're flipping it right side out. Alright, so finally, that just took a lot of patience and a lot of wiggling material through. Now I've got it all pulled out. Now I'm going to start stuffing it and see how this stuffs. I'm hoping that after it gets stuffed, this part starts to lay a little flatter. The armpits didn't turn out the greatest. Also got a little spot right here in the waist I don't like. Hopefully once I get it stuffed it will turn out okay. That just took a while to get it unstuffed through this itty bitty little neck hole. But here we go. Alright, let's start stuffing. Alright. Alright, so to help me stuff the batting all the way down into the feet, I got a spoon, a long spoon. You can use anything like a crochet hook or anything that's dull and not going to poke all the way through your material. So anything long that can help you poke it through. Well, of course, this is just poking right through the batting too. But let's see if I can get it past the hard part. Now's the part where I really need the spoon. Getting it down into this leg. Haha, nice. Let's get it good into those corners real well. Okay, so we're just going to keep adding batting and poking it down in. Start at the bottom and work towards the top. Alright, done with our spoon. So now that we have the doll stuffed to our likings, oh, get in there, stuffing. Alright, now I'm going to sew up our hole. So, gonna need our pins again. Okay, so we're gonna pin up our hole. Not ourselves, just the hole. Like so, all the way across. Since we didn't have a ton of seam, it's gonna be a little bit tricky, but we can do it. Alright, so I have it all pinned up. It's a little seam and there's lots of stuffing in there. So we're going to have to work really hard to get it flat and under the machine. Hopefully we can. Hopefully I can. Let's see. If not, I'm gonna have to stitch it up by hand. I would prefer to sew it though with the machine. That's just not going to happen. Our doll is not going to fit under the pressure fit on the sewing machine to sew up this top part. So I'm going to have to stitch it by hand. And I just realized I used white thread and white bobbin to sew up our doll. But that's okay, not that big of a deal. But I am going to use the tan color thread to stitch her up since it's going to be on the outside and seen a little bit more. Hopefully though the yarn hair will, where's my slot? Hopefully the yarn hair will cover it up for the most part. Alright, I'm going to start back a little bit. Overlap some of the spot that was sewn by the machine. Just to make sure we got it. Good, and it's not gonna undo. Alright. So, it's a lot more tedious than using the machine, having to do it by hand, but I was able to get really close to the edge doing it by hand, so I'm glad I did because I think in the long run it's going to look better. So here's our doll. Her head's a little wobbly, but that's okay. She will be cute. Now we're going to work on our hair. First, we need to decide which we want to be the front of her head and which we want to be the back. And the front of her body versus the back. I think I want this to be the front because the hands kind of naturally go forward. I think. I don't know. I think it'll be fine either way. So, this is going to be my back. I'm going to take a needle. It's still pretty pointy, sharp tipped. I wasn't touching too hard. And it has the biggest eye or opening that I have for needles. So it's a good sized pumpkin needle. And I wanted it this big because I got to get yarn in it. I'm going to start with my lovely multicolored yarn. And what we are going to do is get a book, and you want it to be a book that has the width. I guess if you wanted it longer, you could go the length of the book of the hair you want. So this book's going to get me hair that is this long, which is going to be plenty long. So what we are going to do is take some yarn. Start down here at the bottom, and we are going to wrap it around the book. Lots of times. So I've got all the yarn I want. I went through and made sure I got more pink. Kept going until I got back to pink. So I don't know as though I'll really use all of this, but this is how many we're cutting. So now what we're going to do is we're going to cut it right down here. Make sure you don't cut into your book. Just cut the yarn. You want to keep the yarn on there. You don't want it falling off. That's a lot of yarn. I got it pretty thick. Ugh. Cut and cut. All right. Oops, one more. All right. Now we're going to take all of these, set them down. Oopsie, I poked my book a little. Don't tell my kids. Okay. It's not too bad. Oops, and I set them right on top of my needle. Now this is a way that they do with yarn dolls. Kind of stealing a yarn doll type. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it about in the middle, thread it through a needle. Yarn dolls, they use a crochet hook, but pretty sure a crochet hook is not hooking through this doll's head. Another way you could do it is if you wanted to crochet the hair, you could make a yarn cap, a crochet yarn cap, kind of like a little beanie, and sew the yarn cap onto her head and then crochet the hair into the yarn cap. I'm going to thread the needle. So I can get this much through. We're going to poke it through here. Pull it off the needle. I did that one side to side. I'm going to go up and down with the next one, see if it lays better. That's the idea. When I'm all done, I'm gonna give her a haircut too. Alright, go with the purple this time next to it. I think this will work. Alright, purple needle or purple thread through the needle. Oops, grab it very well. Just try that one more time. This one, instead of going side to side, I'm going to poke it up and down and see if I like the way the hair yarn lays a little better. We shall see. Alright. I don't want both of those being pulled through. Make sure you don't get the pink center. Okay, I'm just on a roll tonight. Doing great here. Alright. And now for our knots. And one more. And there we have our knots. Don't know as though I have a preference in which way. So, we're just going to stick with the side to side. Yeah, side to side. Alright. Grab another random colored yarn. I'm going to keep one side shorter, so when I pull it through, it's easy just to grab that. Should have done that last time, I didn't. Wasn't thinking very clearly. Something I'm not doing much of tonight. Not thinking clearly. Alright. Oh. Look my finger. Come on. There we go. Purple yarn, you stay out of this. Too far again. Alright. Do. And do. Alright, so yeah, I think that lays better going side to side than up and down. Okay, so I am going to keep doing that. I'm doing this color yarn all in the middle section here. And then I have other color yarn I'm doing in other places. So I'm going to keep at this and I will check back in with you when I'm done. Okay, so I've done all of this color yarn I'm going to do. I went straight up the back with it of her head and went just over the seam, did one row in front of the seam at the top of her head. I've got some other stuff I might do in the front for some little bangs. Now I started the rows a lot closer together. As I got towards the top, I started spacing them a little more. They didn't need to be as close as I was getting them, and it still looks very full. So, yes. Now, I'm going to do a strip on both sides of her head and just past the seam on the side with this yarn that I've already cut the same length as the yarn that I cut used the same book. Okay, let's get started on the side hairs. Alright, this yarn, I hope isn't too big of a pain to thread. It might be. Alright, how to do this? Alright, that's how to do it. Okay, so you just gotta pull it really tight and pull down all of the fuzzies when you thread it. And here we go. Now let's see. The side of the head, I'm going to start curving up a little bit because that's what our natural hairline does. It curves up to the ear actually. So I am going to start curving up these sides and not have them go quite as far down. Alright, let's get another one. So if you have a thimble you like to use, I have fat thumbs and fingers, so I don't like thimbles. But if you have a thimble or some type of a gripper you can put on your fingers to help you pull the needle through, that would be good. My fingers have gotten sore pulling the needle through so much. So I highly recommend something on your fingers. Thinking I need to buy something. Alright, I just had a thought. Why don't I put a point? So I'm going to take one of my push pins with my little ball at the end, that'll be easy to see. And I'm going to poke it straight into the doll where I want the hair to come up to. I think that will be a good spot. And she's not perfectly symmetrical, so I don't think the ears on each side need to be perfectly symmetrical, but you want it kind of close, right? So I think that's the spot I'm going to bring the hair line up to. So now I have a spot to work towards, which will be good. So. Alright, and I am just going to keep working at this. I will be back when I'm ready for the next step. Okay, so got most of her hair done. I got to the one color down the middle and then the other color on the two sides. And now I'm going to frame her face a little with the threads instead of the thicker yarns. So I'm going to put the light pink, really soft, the thread up here as a layer of bangs, which is why I have it around a shorter book, because I want shorter threads. And then I'm going to use these, it's kind of a multicolored pink thread on the sides, just a couple rows on the sides, and frame her face with the threads. And I've already stuck her, well, I haven't sewn them on, I just have them in with pins. Stick her eyeballs, her button eyeballs where I'm gonna want them, so that I can see that while I'm framing around her face with the thread, kind of see where her face is gonna be. So, and then if you remember, I put the push pins in the sides where I was gonna bring the yarn up to, because I brought it up kind of like a natural hairline, and I'm gonna only do that area also with the front. So the front hair is only gonna be up here in this section, across the top, and then in this section. I'm not going to bring it all the way down. We don't want hair going onto her neck. So that's what we're going to do right now. Her head's kind of getting heavy. I'm really wishing I would have made her neck bigger, so it could be a little bit more sturdy, but that's okay. Also, for these threads, I'm going to use a little bit of a smaller needle. I don't need as big of a needle. I'm going to do that for two reasons. One, because I don't need it, and two, it will make it easier to pull through the material, the smaller needle. So anything that makes it easier, I think is worth doing. So, what's going on here? My kids cut this thread, so I had to wrap it in two sections. This one came unwrapped. There we go. Now, being careful not to cut the book, I'm going to cut it right down here at the bottom. And this is going to be her bangs at the top. A little bit shorter, and I'll probably end up even trimming it more. And then threads to frame around the side of the face. All done with our books. Let's see, I might start at the bottom on the sides, work my way up, and then I'll do the top last. So, let's see, I think this is still going to be easier to thread like I do my yarn. These kind of threads pull apart into separate strands real easily. You're supposed to do that for needlework, but that makes them more difficult to thread. So, got it though. Alright. So, something else about these thinner ones, we're going to have to put them a lot closer together, or they're just going to show a ton of gaps and you'll see the material, which is not the desired look. So, I'm going to have to put them fairly close together. Okay, so I got all of the thread sewn into the sides of her hair in the front. I wasn't able to do as much as I wanted because you have to put them so close together because this thread is so thin that it took a lot just to get this much, and it's only 2 rows. So, and then I started to do some bangs with this thread, this type of thread. It's super soft and I really wish it would have worked, but as you can see, it doesn't lay real well and it's kind of crazy. So I'm going to take those out and we're not going to use it. She just won't have bangs. So this is going to be the doll's hair. So if you're just doing one kind of yarn, I will post down below what kinds of yarn these are, the name and the brand. But this middle one is makes it very fluffy and full and thick. So that's kind of nice. And this one's actually my favorite. It feels really nice and soft, and because of how fuzzy the yarn is, it hides like the knots really well. And you can't even see them now that I put this pink one in front, but it hides the knots really well. You can't even see them because of how fuzzy the yarn is, it just hides it. And it still is pretty thick and fluffy as well. Not quite as much so as this middle kind though. And then I don't recommend using this string because first of all it takes a ton because you have to put them so close together, and it just, yeah, I guess it looks okay, but it would be very thin, hard to hide the scalp, or the material around it. So anyway, I would use a yarn like one of these. Alright, now what we have left to do is her eyes. I'm going to take out the pins and actually sew them on, and then I'm going to sew a little mouth on her. And then I'm also, I think, going to put a little bow on her ribbon waistband. So that is what we're going to be doing now. And I don't have a thread that matches these buttons perfectly, so I'm going to use a black thread, kind of like the pupil of her eye. Alright, so there we have her eyes. They look kind of big. I'm hoping once we get her smile on, that she won't look so bug-eyed. Alright, so here we go with the smile. I have this shiny pink thread that I'm going to use for her mouth. So I'm going to thread up a bunch of this, and again I'm going to double thread this on the needle so that, not for durability, but just so that there's a thicker line that I'm sewing. Alright, so for the mouth I'm going to, let's see. Alright, just so I'm not doing this completely blind, I'm going to mark it with some pens. I think I kind of want it to go, I don't know, how big of a mouth do we want? Maybe a little bit smaller. So maybe that's a top corner. A little bit higher. And that's a top corner. And then we'll come down a little bit. One go. Maybe about like that. And let off a little, just a little bit down. Alright, so I'll use that for my outline. I think that will be an okay mouth. Alright, now that I kind of can see where I'm gonna sew it. I'm not gonna start all the way at the top. I'm gonna start down here. I'll show you why in just a minute. So now I have these threads. I'm going to cut them a little bit shorter. Alright. And now I'm hoping that since I didn't start all the way at the top that I'll be able to hide those threads better. Maybe not quite though. We will see. I might go over this mouth twice. We'll do it once and see how thick it is and how well it shows up. I may go over it twice, just so that it's a good solid mouth. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm going, so this thread's in the middle of this line right here. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I'm going down past my last insertion. I don't know how to say that word. And then I'm coming back up at the last point I went down. So, oops. So you know what the thread to be. Okay. Alright, so my thread's in the middle again. I'm going to go down past where it was, and then back up the last place I went. Down in. Alright. Come here, needle. Alright, so I'm just going to keep doing this all the way around and try to stick fairly close to my little pins. Another thing that I'm doing to keep it consistent is, if you'll notice, I'm always making sure that my needle is at the bottom so that the thread, drop the needle when I'm talking about it. Okay, so that the thread is coming out of the bottom and not looping over the top. And it doesn't matter so much in just one stitch, but when you look at the whole line together, it'll look better if it's all doing the same thing, laying out the same way. It'll just make it look cleaner and nicer. Alright, let's remove our pins. See how well I did. Alright, a little crooked. It doesn't look too bad. I do think it needs to be gone over one more time. Okay. So I'm going to tie a little knot right here. We're going to go back around the doll one more time. So, back around the doll's mouth. Not around the doll, just her mouth. Alright. Alright, let's see. Down there. Trying to see where all the spots, trying to go over it in the same spots. Okay, now I have the thread poke out the bottom again. Gotta pull the needle down this way so it all lays the same. Alright, so there we have our little doll's mouth and eyes. Not too happy with the knots. If I did it again, I'd make really, really big knots. I could exaggerated big knots and put one on each corner to end it and start it. That would have been cuter. But this is good. Alright, now I'm going to make a little bow with some of the extra ribbon. At least I'm gonna attempt to. I've never been that great at bows. Let's see. I was thinking just a real little thing like this. That looks horrible. Don't want it any bigger than that. Let's see. I was gonna take a button. What color button do we like more? The hot pink or the kind of muted pink? A little bit duller of a pink. I like the hot pink. Matches all the hair better. Alright, so we're gonna take the hot pink button. How can we do this bow? Alright, I have an idea. Bear with me, it's gonna look a little crazy at first. Three loops and 3 loops, okay. Alright, so I have some white thread here. I'm going to kind of grab some of the ribbon and pull it towards the middle. Grab that ribbon when I went back down too. So what I'm doing is I'm grabbing the edges of the ribbon as I am pulling them into, let's see if I can get it to where you can see it. I'm pulling them into the middle, here in the back. And I'm going to sew them all into the middle right here. And I think here in the front even I'm going to do that too. Grab this and pull it in as I go back down. Just kind of gather all the edges into the middle, and I think that will make it kind of cute. Hopefully, we'll see. Alright. So I'm going to attach this onto her waist. I'm going to do it kind of on the side. Then I'm going to attach the button. Alright, so here's our little doll. All complete and done. Some things that I would do differently if I made another one is I'd make her body a little thicker especially her neck, because it doesn't hold the support of all the heavy yarn here. So yes, I would make her thicker, especially in the neck area, probably the whole body. It was really hard to turn her inside out because of how thin she is. So fatter dolls are better. That doesn't sound right. Another thing I would do different probably is next time I would make a yarn cap to put on her head to crochet the hair into, instead of sewing each one and then tying. So yes, I would do her hair different. I would do a yarn crochet cap to crochet the yarn into. Oh, and then I would do her mouth a little different. I would do as I mentioned earlier, I would make really big knots on each side instead of having the little knots here. They don't look too bad, not horribly noticeable, I don't think, but I would do that different. So, here's the doll. Stay tuned and we will see how the little girl likes her. I'll videotape giving her to her. What do you think?
Love her.
You love her?
I love the bumpy dress.
You love the ruffles on her dress?
Yeah. You love this bow.
And the bow on her dress and her bow? No, don't touch.
There's no nose.
Don't touch.
There's no nose.
No, she doesn't have a nose, does she?
No. I forgot to put a nose on her.
I forgot to put a nose on her.
Just throw the nose on.
I thought she looked cute without a nose. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Do you love all her hair?
I have lots of hair.
Lots of hair, huh?
Is this me?
Sure.
Without a nose? Me without a nose?
Can you twist her hair? Do you like her hair? Does it feel good? Does it not twist very good?
Okay. I have
Say thanks for watching.
people watching.
Subscribe below.
Ta-da!
See you next time. Bye.
Next time. See you next time. Bye-bye. 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 Sometimes hair gets in her face. My hair. Okay, I'm gonna play with her.
Okay.
Now my turn.
So when you go to sleep at night, you can snuggle her, and if you want to twist hair, you can twist hers instead of yours. How's that sound?
Good idea. Listen, Mama.